Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where three friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents. I am Kenyan, and I have a never-ending sinus infection.
We're barely holding it together over
I
here.
am shattered into 1 million pieces.
I'm Lucy, and according to my app, I have a piglet in my gut.
Oh,
mini pig!
Mini pig!
She is kicking appropriately.
Adopt,
Big gut.
don't shop.
Oh, God. I'm Amanda. I'm also sick. I don't have a piglet in my belly. Nothing to see here, people.
We're doing great. It's fine. It's fine.
Yep.
It's fine.
We're all fine. We're all fine.
And what better way to be fine than to talk about Cleveland?
Yeah, what better way to celebrate being ill than discussing Cleveland?
One of our favorite cities, as listeners of the podcast will attest. We
Oh,
have
yeah.
never once said anything bad about Cleveland.
Nope. Nothing bad to say.
No? And
A truly perfect snapshot of society can be found.
it's a
in
microcosm. It's heaven. Heaven on the Cuyahoga. That's what I call it.
Very appreciative and supportive audiences.
Oh, yeah.
Who laugh
They
at
just
the right
love us.
times and don't sit
Love
in
us down there.
silence.
Yep.
We have to tell the story.
All
Okay.
right.
We have told it.
Tell it again.
For
Many
this episode,
times. Go ahead.
when we were on tour in 2019, BC, we had a show in Cleveland and we did Cleaver Crimes. And
Great
I thought our
topic.
content was really fun.
Yeah.
We didn't know until we got there that it was like a dinner theater and
it was
that
a
people
supper
would be
club.
It was
people
great.
would be eating during Cleaver Crimes. And Amanda's case in particular was a guy who chopped people up and made them into
Roadside barbecue.
Yeah.
And they had pulled pork barbecue tacos. People were eating them right in front of us. That was my favorite
That
part.
was not the issue.
No, that wasn't the
No.
issue. But as soon as we were done, like, the audience was not
Crickets.
responsive.
Crickets.
Nobody laughed at our incredible jokes.
Best work.
And then when we got off stage, we were like, what happened?
What just
Yeah.
happened up? We were shell-shocked.
Completely.
And then the manager of the theater later came up to us and was like, okay, you guys did a fantastic job. I moved here from Chicago to start this theater, so
Just wanted
I
to let you know.
am able to tell you that for whatever reason, Cleveland audiences are unresponsive.
Yeah,
They
she was
do
like,
not
we
laugh.
have to teach them that if they want an encore for like a music show, they have to
Clap.
participate as an audience
Yeah.
to get it.
So
And we were like, okay.
that made us
And
feel
then in
a
our
little
meet and
bit
greet
better.
line, people were like so nice and talked about how great the show was. And we
Oh.
were like, are you sure?
One
Are
on
you
one, it
there?
was like the nicest meet and greet city we'd ever done.
Yeah,
but
it was
people
shocking.
were like crying and
the collective audience was so
silent.
uncomfortable.
It was the weirdest thing ever. And then I was re-traumatized because my cousin got married and his now wife, her family lives in the Cleveland area, and they got married at like the aquarium across the parking lot from that venue.
Oh.
Yeah. So I was just like trapped
Jimmy
there
Buffett's
again.
Margaritaville.
Oh,
Yeah.
you could still see it, still standing, unlike the one in Times Square.
So that's our experience with Cleveland.
Our
Yeah,
trauma.
My one and only visit.
But we're redoing Cleveland Crimes because technically the first one was Cleaver Crimes.
Yep.
True.
And we're never touching this topic again after today.
Yeah. This is it. So you're welcome to our very special fan picker, Allie. Allie wants to shout out their gateway gal and teammate D Crypt from Burning River Roller Derby. That sounds fun.
Burning
That makes
River.
sense because your river has been on fire like 3 times.
We'll get to it.
We'll
I'm
get
sure we
to
will.
the dangerous bodies of water in Cleveland.
I love
Burning River. Also, Burning River just alone is a great name for a roller derby team.
it. Yeah,
Really
it's
is.
really cool.
Yeah.
Even without all of the significance of your
Yes.
river burning.
Yes.
So we approve. Thank you, Allie and D Crypt. Should we get right to the wine crime pairing? Mine is Dayquil and rum in a Swiss Miss hot chocolate.
That sounds safe.
You mix together.
No, I'm mixing inside my body. I took Dayquil capsules and then I poured a bunch of rum into my Swiss Miss hot cocoa because I'm fucking sick of drinking tea.
Good
Yeah.
for you.
That's
Good
fair.
for fucking you.
Thank you.
I'm earlier on in my sickness, so I am not drinking, but I'm give it a week, and I'm sure that will change. Sorry, I'm fucking yawning because I'm also on a bunch of meds. But our amazing fan picker had requested that we look into and also shout out CLE Urban Winery. And their website is really cool. You can check them out at cleurbanwinery.com. They have a really cool, very chic space. And it's kind of a cool concept because they do like it's almost like going into a brewery. So when you go in, you can see like the tanks and stuff like that behind glass.
I love that.
They don't grow their own grapes because they don't have a vineyard, but they source the grapes from the West Coast and then they age them and, you know, do all of their cooking, their pressing, their destemming, all of that they do at this winery. It's just the only part that they're not doing is growing their own grapes, which honestly
You don't want to
being
do
in-
that in Ohio anyway.
Yeah. Also being in a Midwest viticultural region where our grapes are not good for wine because like the only thing that thrives here is Concord grapes in this cold. Like just get your grapes from the West Coast. You're doing right by this.
Yeah.
But, you know, I think they also have possibly some local wines because they're about us also says that they will change your mind about Ohio wine. I'm like, okay, I'll listen. I'll take
As
it.
long as the grapes aren't grown there, I'm happy.
Yeah. They have a really cool tasting room. They have a winery that they give tours of. It's like really beautiful. It's woman owned. And
Can
I'm
I
here
tell
for
you
it.
guys a dad joke that
Yes.
I got from Colin Robinson on What We Do in the Shadows?
Sure.
What's the fastest way to become a millionaire?
I don't know.
You,
To marry one, then kill him.
you start off as a billionaire and then you buy a winery.
There you go. There you go.
Way better answer.
Very good. Very funny.
Just start off as a billionaire.
I want to highlight the Drawbridge Pinot Noir because it looks quite delicious. And that Drawbridge is like right where our show was. So we are very familiar with it. And maybe this will help us heal some of that trauma. So this says our gorgeous Pinot Noir with medium body and acidity, mellow tannins and aromas and flavors of black cherry and berries is made from grapes sourced from Sonoma's Russian River Valley, which, hell yes, such a good Pinot Noir growing region. This wine honors Cleveland's river bridges and the sounds of one long whistle and two short ones from the transiting ships on the river that bring these bridges to life.
They love their rivers.
They really do. Cleveland has a variety of beautiful and practical movable bridge structures along the 2.5-mile navigation channel of the Cuyahoga River in the heart of the city. River vessels have right-of-way and can signal from the water to open these bridges, which, although utilitarian and industrial, inspire in many the same kind of adoration as a cathedral.
The same kind?
The same kind.
I will say that being the resident of a smaller Midwestern adjacent city on a river, folks really care deeply about
their bridges. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Big time.
When you're on a river, that's That's your culture.
People tell you all about the different bridges, how many bridges, when the bridges were built, when the bridges were refurbished. Have you done the walking bridge? This is on the other side of the bridge.
Just ask
you
them
should
about
see the bridge lit up at night. You should see the bridge under the fireworks. You should see the bridge on St. Patrick's Day.
You should just
Christmas time.
traumatize them. Actually, I follow this subreddit that I laugh at all the time that you should follow if you ever go on Reddit. It's called like traumatize them back. Or like if someone dumps their trauma on you or something that you just do not give a fuck about, then you respond with something adjacent but like really traumatizing. It's really funny.
Social interaction.
That.
Yeah, you should just write, speak back to them being like, you know what? I just really am triggered by bridges. I'm from Minneapolis and I was like on the 35W bridge when it collapsed. And it was, I mean, that would obviously be a huge lie because neither of us were. But just saying, #traumatize them back.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Anyway,
mutual trauma.
I am not drinking this wine, obviously, but they do have a wine club. They do ship wine from their winery. And next time, if ever, we are in Cleveland again, I would gladly pop in and give it a taste.
Cool.
Nice.
Back to you, Lucy.
Okay, here is my segment. I went
Where's
a little bit off the rails, but I had to because it was for everyone's benefit. The city of Cleveland is located in northeast Ohio at the mouth of the Cuyahoga River. I did Google how to pronounce it.
Yep.
I feel like some people say it as Cayuga.
I think it's Cuyahoga. That's how I've always heard it.
That's definitely what the looked up pronunciation is. Maybe I'm thinking of a totally different river.
Well,
place.
I think people who live in Cleveland pronounce it a specific way. Mm-hmm. But Cuyahoga is what Google said.
Ugh, yum. I would love a hoagie right now.
Cuyahoga. On the southern shore of Lake Erie. So that river, fun fact, is a young glacial river. It was one of the last like rivers that basically was a melting glacier.
Cool.
Out of that area.
Lake Erie also has its own lake monster.
Oh, fun.
Called Bessie, like the Loch Ness Monster, but it's Bessie instead of Nessie.
Creative.
Yeah.
Cleveland
Soup's creative.
is the second largest city in Ohio after Columbus. However, Cleveland is more densely populated, so a lot of people consider it like more city-ish.
Mm-hmm. Ohio has far too many cities. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot of cities.
Yeah, like decent-sized ones.
Yeah.
You only need one. You're not that big a state.
What's the other one?
Cincinnati.
Columbus.
Cleveland.
Columbus.
There's a fourth.
Does it also start with a C?
Probably.
Fucking
God.
probably.
Confusing.
Cleveland.
Confusing Ohio.
Confusing. Is often attributed to the greater Cleveland area, so like the Cleveland metro. And as of 2022, the U.S. Census estimated that 2.16 million people live in the Cleveland metro area versus Cleveland proper, which was only like 361,000. Mm-hmm. Big metro.
Big.
The Cleveland area is known for its large Polish population, culture, and history. Lots of Poles,
pierogies,
Yum.
sausages. Distinct Polish neighborhoods began forming by the late 1870s as there was an increase in Polish migration to Cleveland due to German cultural pressure in Prussian Poland and poverty and repression in Russian Poland. Didn't get too far into that. Can't say that I cared to.
Lot of immigration.
A lot of immigration. And then the first Cleveland rolling mills strike in 1882. So the rolling mills were steel mills. It was a specific kind of steel that they used with these big rollers.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why the river has caught on fire so many times, well, pretty much the reason is because of pollution.
Yep.
Which during this time, Industrial Revolution, they just dumped all their oil and all of their chemical shit into the river.
And they were like, that's just an unfortunate runoff. Next.
They were still drinking it until they were like, this doesn't taste great.
We will get to it.
Okay.
I have every cancer. How did that happen?
I think a river is supposed to be the viscosity of gack.
Yeah. It's supposed to give you a rash. Right?
That's just
That means
Cleveland.
it's working.
So, the first Cleveland rolling mill strike in 1882 was responsible for a sizable growth in the area's Polish population because they recruited immigrants from New York to come and like help them strike.
Help them strike or to be scabs?
I don't know. Were recruited in New York to break the strike.
To be scabs. Okay. But I mean, you know, a Polish immigrant's got to do what a Polish immigrant's got to do. No shade.
Yeah.
It's 1870.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
real hard.
It was 1882.
Yep.
And there was another one in, I think, 85. And that was the last one. But like a lot of their union strike efforts kind of fell apart because there were so many immigrants working at these factories, and all the higher ups, most of them did not speak Polish, and most of the workers did not speak English. So like their negotiations just kind of, it was a detriment to their negotiations. Okay, so because of Cleveland's mills and other growing industries, Cleveland's Polish people, were largely linked to heavy industry and labor, as many of the entrepreneurial ventures were directed toward fellow Poles rather than the community at large. So they were very insular.
Yeah.
All of these opportunities that they got, like entrepreneurial, starting their own businesses, they just gave them to fellow Polish people.
Well, probably because they were faced with so much discrimination from the outside. So when they could help each other, they wanted to.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I
Precisely.
would do the same thing. But that's kind of why their community stayed really
Very
insular.
vibrant, strong.
By 1930, Cleveland had a population of 36,668 foreign-born Polish citizens. It's a shitload
Yeah.
of Polish people.
Yeah.
But then today, there are only like 1,600 of them. And most of these citizens of Polish descent are living in Independence, which is this town in the metro area.
Interesting.
So
Like
they,
a little Polish suburb.
yeah, they call it wouldn't be Slovakian.
No.
Well, it's some kind of village that they have there, probably with, great food. But they peaked in like the early 20th century.
Okay.
So a note about the Cuyahoga River. It is commonly believed that the word is a translation from a vague Native American language meaning crooked river. A lot of like cities in Cleveland or along this river will have their name be like Crooked River, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
But there's evidence that it's more likely a corruption of an Iroquois or Seneca term meaning either on the chin or Elm River.
Okay.
So Crooked River, I think a lot of people stake a lot of claim to that, but it very well might not be true.
That might have just been a rumor that kind of stuck. Okay.
It is crooked.
Right.
Well, sure. What rivers aren't?
Right.
The name Ohio comes from the Seneca meaning beautiful river.
Nice.
That's a river
Centric.
centric, exactly. So a bit more about the pre-European Ohio Valley that I personally found cool. It doesn't have a lot to do with Cleveland specifically. And I'm going to tell you about it anyway, because we're learning today. So a lot of different tribes lived in the area that is now Cleveland, including the Ojibwe, the Potawatomi, the Anishinaabe, Dene, Choctaw, Iroquois, and Shawnee, among many others. It's obviously thousands and thousands of years. Beginning around 100 BCE, there was a trading network that stretched from what is now New York down through Ohio all the way to modern-day Florida, mostly along their rivers because trading, travel, all that.
Much easier. Yeah.
This spread cultural traditions between the tribes in this area. So they had a lot of common social elements rather than just being all isolated individual tribes. So this created what's known as the Hopewell tradition. This included sharing knowledge about specialized uses for resources, the way that they structured their societies, like political hierarchies, and mortuary customs.
Nice.
Ding, ding, ding.
Now she comes alive.
Yep. These societies use earthworks, so like mounds, for various things, but many of them were burial structures. This was super common in specifically the Adena culture, which refers to a number of related societies in the now Ohio area specifically. So the Adena culture was older than the Hopewell tradition, but they're linked because they're basically like, okay, these tribes traded with each other and like shared information and had a lot of similar customs. So they would build this structure. They'd put the dead person or people inside. They would put offerings inside, pottery, copper, things like that. Mm-hmm. Then they would burn it and then bury it again with dirt. And then they would repeat that over and over to build up the mound.
Cool.
And I think I didn't find a lot of information on like the structure itself, but I did find one diagram that showed like a more established mound had like many, many layers of old burned like mortuary sites, like where the actual bodies were burned, layered up. And then there's like a structure on top of it, like a worship kind of structure. And then like log stairs that went up the side of it.
That's cool. Honestly, we should bring that back. Burial mounds would be dope.
Yeah. So they used these mounds as social meeting spots, burial structures,
Sacred
obviously.
sites.
Sacred sites, lots of different things. They were very much used. Mm-hmm. So like I said, these burial mounds were quite characteristics of societies in the Northeast, but the most numerous and grandly conceived ones are found in the Ohio River Valley, specifically near Ohio, Cleveland. Mm-hmm. They can be conical or elliptical mounds surrounded by other ornate earthworks. So the more I kind of looked into earthworks, it was sort of like their version of how the Greeks used sculpture. Mm-hmm. So they just... Because there's one, it's near Cleveland, I think, that's like this, it's like a snake mound. So it's like in the shape of a snake. You could see it from overhead really well. Mm-hmm. We here in the upper Midwest might be more familiar with effigy mounds, like that snake mound, which were built in the shapes of animals and other forms. So again, not a lot to do with Cleveland in particular. I just thought
that's
that was
cool, though.
Very cool.
Cleveland is also known as the birthplace of rock and roll.
Oh, yeah. My in-laws were just there, and they went to the Rock and Roll Museum.
All right.
Had a rip-roaring good time.
Nothing entices me less than a rock and roll museum.
When they were done at the museum, did one of them say, well, ready to rock and roll?
That was a weird pause.
Well. Ready to rock and roll? Tom's dad jokes are not as obvious. He's too intellectual. I don't get a lot of that. He's a lawyer.
He's really smart.
I can't run in those circles.
So, okay, birthplace of rock and roll. In 1951, a DJ named Alan Freed had a radio show on WJW in Cleveland called Moondog Rock and Roll Radio Hour, which was named later. So he gained a lot of traction because the music he played for his mostly white audience while he worked there, he slipped in some rock and roll. So people, during this time, people were listening to music that was categorized by race. So they would call it, what they called, quote unquote, race music was music meant for African American audiences. There was a lot of like blues and like that kind of music. But Freed would play, quote unquote, race music for his white audience. But instead of calling it race music, the genre's name was changed to rock and roll, which actually at the time was a term for fucking.
Oh, nice.
Like sex
Love
music. It. Yeah.
Yeah. So now anytime a dad says, are we ready to rock and roll, we'll have to let him know. Did you know that phrase originally meant fucking?
Just go,
dad? No, I'm not going to have sex with you, Dad. Jesus Christ.
It's the circular trauma thing. Traumatize him.
Traumatize them back. I'm telling you.
So
it always works.
People loved it. And the audience, which again were mostly white teenagers, were being exposed to music that their families would not approve of.
Which teenagers love.
It's enticing and thrilling and sexy.
Yeah, sexy.
Turned them on.
Didn't call it race music. He just tried to take the race component out of at least the name of it. And for many people, the event marked the beginning of rock and roll and its reputation of a rebellion.
Interesting.
Cleveland is also cited as hosting the nation's first rock concert at the Cleveland Arena, thanks to Alan Freed organizing them.
The nation's first silent, laughless comedy show at
Yeah, it probably wasn't that exciting.
Wherever.
City Winery, Cleveland, or wherever the fuck we did that show.
It wasn't a city winery.
It was like a comedy club with dinner.
Hilarious.
I have a picture on the drive, which will be on the blog, of the poster.
Ooh.
It was like Har Har Jolly's Laughatorium or something. It was
No
like-
fucking way.
No, it
was
wasn't.
Har Har Jolly's Laughatorium. Ma'am.
Sick.
something like that.
God damn it.
I'm Googling it.
You're Googling Har Har Jolly's Laughatorium?
Kenyon loves bias Googling.
Oh, yeah.
You could probably look at a map and find Margaritaville on the river, and it's right there.
It's in the same parking lot as their famous aquarium. It's very easy to find.
Okay, so the headliners at this first rock concert were Paul Williams and the Hucklebuckers, and Tony Grimes and the Rockin' Highlanders.
Wow. Rock
Okay.
and roll used to be so hard.
I
And
think
the
it's just called Improv Comedy Club and Restaurant.
Probably. That sounds right.
Forever now.
Very clinical.
Har Jolly's
Jolly's.
Laughatorium.
Laughatorium.
the owners were great.
Come on down to Har Har Jolly's, where you won't laugh at all. Because that's our rule.
We had like a butler in the green room, remember?
We had a server.
Oh, he was assigned to us.
Yes, he was also waiting tables out on the main floor.
Felt like a butler.
Oh my God.
Amanda
You're not allowed to go to restaurants.
fully took a nap.
On the floor. In my dress. I remember the dress I was wearing, my green dress.
That was a nightmare. Okay, so the fee to get in was $1.50.
Mm-hmm.
And here's a quote from my boyfriend, Encyclopedia Britannica. Moving to New York City and WINS in 1954, Freed continued to produce lucrative concerts. For his efforts, he drew charges of race mixing
Oh my fucking God.
and the attention of vigilant police.
I bet.
A disturbance at a concert in Boston in 1958, which was described in a different article as after a riot at a dance in Boston featuring Jerry Lee Lewis.
Gasp. This is
Gasp.
within the lifetime of our parents. This
Oh,
is
yeah.
so fucking stupid. Ugh.
So after this disturbance resulted in criminal charges against Freed and his departure from WINS. In 1960, he was enveloped in the congressional hearings on payola, which is a combination of pay and Victrola.
Oh my God.
Wow.
There was this big scandal at the time where DJs would receive money or gifts by representative of record companies in exchange for playing their records. I can talk exchange.
Extreme.
It was like this big bribery music scandal that, like, okay, you brought Victrola into it. It's not, you're not that cool, dude.
It was still a fucking geriatric what do you call it? A geriarchy? What am I trying to say? John, cut this. What do you
cut
Keep
it.
it
It's
in.
hilarious.
Keep it in. Let her struggle.
geriarchy.
You know what I mean?
Old people
Old
archy.
archy.
It's what
Of
we have now.
Old people archy.
Ugh.
Elderarchy.
Elderarchy.
Okay, so he got in trouble for payola and his career was in jeopardy. Also, he was a raging alcoholic.
He was a DJ. That goes without saying.
It's part of the jab.
He popularized rock and roll in white audiences, of course. So he moved to Los Angeles where he worked at KDAY for a short time. Then he was indicted on charges of tax evasion in 1964 and died
for
in
him.
1965.
Good for him.
His ashes are interred at Cleveland's Lakeview Cemetery beneath a jukebox-shaped memorial.
Oh my God, I want to go
Cringe.
visit his grave.
The grave is actually pretty cool.
Do you have a picture of it?
Yeah, it's on the drive.
Oh, that's cute. Okay, it's not overtly jukebox
Yeah,
shaped.
yeah. It's just rounded.
I don't think I would have made that
approve.
connection if
It's-
you hadn't, but I also approve.
For a jukebox-shaped tombstone, it's fairly classy.
Right.
He's a jukebox hero.
So, Lastly, I have some cool facts about Cleveland. I don't have very many.
I was going to say, how many could you possibly have?
Cleveland was the first city to be lit electrically in 1875.
So lit. But then why is Scranton the electric city?
I don't know. Why
Because
would
of
you
Scranton's
ask me?
what? Electricity.
It was also the first to use an electric traffic signal.
Oh, we'll get to the
Wow.
traffic signals.
Oh, good.
I know why Cleveland was the first.
Hey, you gals like potato chips?
Oh my God, yes.
Because potato chips were first mass produced in Cleveland, not Vancouver, guy.
Really?
The Cuyahoga River, which feeds into Lake Erie, has caught on fire 13 times. And I have
13?
and I have a good quote from the Smithsonian quote. The water was nearly always covered in oil slicks, and it bubbled like a deadly stew. Sometimes rats floated by, their corpses so bloated they were practically the size of dogs.
Wow. That's an image
That was
I didn't need.
graphic.
That was really great. I know it's like Halloween season still, but
Wow.
Harken back to our rat episode.
cheers to your bloated rats, Cleveland. Your bloated oil rats. The town mascot.
Stew, anyone?
Go bloated oil rats.
Go, blood oil rat.
The special tonight at Har Har Jolly's Lavatorium is stew.
Bloated oil rat stew. Oh my God.
Lifesavers were invented
Okay.
there. I love lifesavers.
There was a guy on my flight on the way back. I was in Massachusetts this past weekend. Hi, Josh Hallmark, and congrats to him on the opening of his storefront, both and studio, in downtown North Adams. So beautiful. But anyway, I was in a fucking middle seat, flanked by two unrelated lifesaver enthusiasts.
What?
No.
Both loudly smacking on lifesavers that they were not sucking.
They were chewing.
They were chewing them, and I could hear it through my sound-canceling headphones.
Oh my God.
No joke. And then, honestly, I get that it was kind, but I was already mad at them, so I find this egregious. I had put my tray table down, gotten my jacket, balled up my jacket, and I was like making myself as small as possible and laid down my head to just sleep in the middle seat, because that's the only way you could fucking sleep in a middle seat.
Yeah.
The flight attendants came by for beverage service. I already had a beverage. I had a snack that I had brought on the plane. And one of these lifesaver bitches fucking woke me up.
To ask.
I was actually asleep.
No.
Ask if you wanted a beverage.
Woke me up.
Don't
And the
do
flight
that.
attendant didn't do it. The gal
No.
sitting next to me
Don't
did
ever
it.
do that.
Yeah, the flight attendants know not to.
Yup. Tapped me on the shoulder.
No.
Touched me. I
No.
was furious. Shook awake.
Then it takes another.
Lifesaver breath. You want anything to drink? No.
Bleach.
Fuck out of here. Bleach. Anyway, lifesavers are really good though, but don't be like that. Don't be like lifesaver lady.
Don't wake someone up on them. And it also sucks though if you have to wake someone up so you can go to the bathroom.
That I get though. I will forgive
That's
you.
unavoidable.
Right.
It's still uncomfortable, but don't wake someone up because of drink service. They know that there's fucking drink service coming.
We know the risk of taking a nap on
Yeah.
a plane.
Yeah.
We know the fucking risk. We accept the risk.
What flight were we on? Was it when we went to Johannesburg for Kenyon's wedding? They had like stickers that you could put on your eye mask that said like
Yeah.
"Wake me up for food."
Emirates had that.
Yeah, that was
great.
nice.
Yeah.
Just slap a sticker on your face and fall asleep,
Seriously.
and they'll know.
Seriously.
I wish you could do that for more things in life.
Everything.
Slap a
I want
sticker on.
everything to be like Fogo de Chao, where you either have the red card up and they stop bothering you, or you have the green card up and they just keep bringing you meat.
Yeah.
Meat
I
just
wish everything
appears.
were like Fogo de Chao.
This is everything. I want everything in life to be the Fogo de Chao rules
Yeah.
of survival.
You can
Oh my
socialize with me. Stay
Red
the
card.
fuck away from me.
God. Red card.
It's like what they do at swinger parties.
Yeah.
What?
Swinger
Called
parties.
Consent.
Yeah, it really is. So my last will and testament is just a sticker on my forehead.
Anyway.
In 1933, Superman was created in Cleveland by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. And finally, A Christmas Story was filmed in Cleveland.
That I knew.
Great film.
And by the way, it was Mother Melinda Dillon's birthday a couple days ago.
Aww.
And a fun fact about the movie A Christmas Story, in the last scene when they're at the Chinese food restaurant, apparently the director wanted the mom to just be like really goofy, like at her wit's end, I'm sure. So
probably drunk.
He purposely gave her the wrong script.
Oh,
so
God.
everyone else was on the same page, but she was just totally lost.
That's
Perfect.
And so when they chopped the duck's head off, like all of that was totally authentic. She was like, what the fuck is going on?
That's like such a Kubrick approach to that
so
kind of
good.
directing.
I know.
It's like, it's not that high stakes. It's a Christmas story, y'all. No need to torture your actors.
Oh,
Such a
that's
good
so
film,
good
though.
because that is what it feels like, I'm sure, as a mom on Christmas.
Oh, yeah. In her robe.
No clue what is
And I
happening
got
anymore.
a robe. Yeah.
Yep. And I got a robe.
Okay, that's my Cleveland segment.
Well
Well
done.
done.
Thanks.
How cute.
Let's take a quick cough break
Yep.
and then hear a word from our sponsors and then my case.
Excellent.
Great.
If you haven't heard me talk about Care of before,
You haven't been listening.
you have not been listening because I talk about it a lot. But basically, it's a subscription service that ships high quality, personalized vitamins, supplements, and powders conveniently to your door every month. Amanda, tell us more.
I'm obsessed with Care of because, as everybody knows, I was such a vitamins and supplements newbie. I really knew nothing about that world. I was just like, what looks tasty?
What is Flintstones shaped?
Right. Pretty much. That's like how I was navigating vitamins. It was not coming from a place of like trying to center my wellness in any way, shape, or form. But Care of can help you actually track how you're feeling, notice the results, and adjust your routine as needed. And for extra support and guidance, Care of's app makes sticking to your routine easier than ever. I need help and apps and accountability and reminders. Like, Care of has got me covered. All you do to get started is take a short, simple online quiz. You know we love a good quiz. And this just helps Care of meet you where you're at. You talk about your lifestyle, your health goals. Care of then gives you doctor-backed recommendations. It is that easy. Care of makes taking your vitamins on the go so convenient with individual daily packs that are perfect for a busy routine. You can just throw a few in your purse. You know, we travel a lot. They can just go in your travel bag and you don't have to disrupt your routine just because you're on the road. Like,
I
it's
love that
so
because
great.
then you don't end up with like your pill case
Yeah,
opening
overflowing.
and then there are just like a bunch of vitamin C tablets at the bottom of your
Loose.
suitcase.
Yeah, not cute. And Care of's daily vitamin packs are also made with plant-based compostable film to help limit the impact on the environment without compromising on the quality and safety of their products. I struggle the most with my gut health. And so a lot of what has been in my quiz, and I've taken it multiple times because we
I
change
take
and
it
evolve.
probably like every year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I am recommended a lot of stuff that focuses on my gut health, kind of probiotic type supplements, and I have definitely noticed an impact. And I really appreciate Care of for meeting me where I'm at.
So for 50% off your first Care of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code GALS50. Again, for 50% off your first Care of order, go to takecareof.com and enter code GALS50, GALS50, and treat your wellness.
Treat it. Y'all know that my hair is a complex tapestry, babes.
She's got needs.
She's got needs. She's got needs that, like everyone, start at the scalp, okay? You know, I have colored hair, I have hair extensions, I have fine hair, I have dry skin, I have like so many things working against these luscious strands. So when it comes to my hair and scalp health, finding a product that actually works and is made with clean ingredients really seems like a trade-off. Like I'm either sacrificing my color vibrancy or my moisturizing or my cleanliness. But with Vegamore, I get products that are made with clean ingredients and give me visibly healthy hair and scalp, which is so important to hair health.
The scalp piece is huge. I also have color treated, but not as color treated. And fine hair, and my scalp isn't dry. My scalp is quite oily. But guess what? Still love Vegamore. Still works for me because they're miracle workers. All three of us basically have very different hair needs, but we have all found that we have visibly thicker, fuller, shinier, longer, healthier hair with Vegamore, and all of that without the harsh ingredients. And that is because every cute pink bottle of Vegamore products are 100% cruelty-free and are never formulated with potentially harmful chemicals like parabens or hormones. I also love their revitalizing like glow serum for lashes.
That's my favorite. My favorite. I use that all the time.
I use it daily. So nice. And it doesn't like irritate my eyes like other lash serums have in the past. And what's even better is Vegamore's value kits, like the Grow Essentials kit, where you get to try more than one amazing product at a great savings. So you can sign up for a monthly subscription to save more, and you never run low on the products that you need to take care of your hair. And the key is really consistency in your routine for the most beautiful, healthy-looking hair. So we use these products, this Vegamore Grow, like the hair serum daily. My hair and scalp are flourishing.
Yeah, thriving.
Fun fact, Vegamore sells one bottle of Grow serum every 15 seconds on their website. That is how good this stuff is.
Exactly. So give your hair the power of the little pink bottle with Vegamore. For a limited time, Wine and Crime listeners get 20% off their first order by going to vegamore.com/gals and use that code GALS at checkout. That's vegamore.com/gals. Code GALS to save 20% on your first order. One more time, vegamore.com/gals. Code GALS and treat your hair.
Trade it. Do you have family members living across the country or even across the world? Maybe parents, grandparents, your own children live far away and you feel like it can be hard to stay connected with them? I definitely relate to that because I've lived all over the place. And when you are far away from the people that are most important to you, like it's just the little things that you wish you could share with them, like the day-to-day life events, you know, also like the trips and the vacations, but really just like, you know, pictures of your kiddos as they're growing up. Like it's just important to share that stuff and stay connected.
Yeah.
And that is why we love Skylight Frame.
I love it too because you can really lose like connection on those special day-to-day moments in like the flood of social media feeds. Like you miss stuff.
Yeah.
That way. So this is like having your own special curated family social media. That's like the stuff you want to see.
Yeah. Non-toxic social media.
It's also just like the easiest thing to use. Setup takes less than 60 seconds. It looks gorgeous in your home. Photos are displayed in HD resolution and it looks like a real photo frame. Like that's one of the things I love the most about this is I have one hanging on my wall in the kitchen. And it literally just, it's like slender, it's sleek, it just looks like a photo frame. It's like magic. I don't even really know how to explain it.
They're very design friendly.
Yeah, they're very design friendly, including new color options that they have right now that can match any style. So I currently have a black skylight frame, but they also have white, silver, and what I am running to get is the limited edition Poppy, which is like this orangey red color.
Cute.
They also have a gold one right now. So like I'm telling you, the holidays are coming. This is the time to snag those limited edition colors. They also come in 2 sizes. So you can get the original 10-inch, but I like my photos to show up big. I'm a maximalist, so I'm here for the larger 15-inch gallery frame. And it's just like the coolest, most fun gift to give to members of your family so that you can stay connected in this really easy and fun way.
Yeah. So as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $15 off your purchase of a skylight frame when you go to skylightframe.com/wine. To get $15 off your purchase of a skylight frame, just go to skylightframe.com/wine. That's skylightframe.com/wine and treat your gift giving.
Treat it.
Well, this, I'm pretty sure, was the fan pick case.
Yes.
So shout out to Allie.
It was.
Twelve.
I vaguely knew about this, but I was very happy to have a chance to dig in
Oh.
and learn more. So prepare to turn on the old waterworks
Oh,
because it's tragic.
Oh, good.
No.
Collective groan from Cleveland listeners because they totally know what I'm about to cover.
Oh, God.
So in the middle of the 19th century, the bustling city of Cleveland, at the time home to around 70,000 people, a lot of Poles, was faced with a public health dilemma. The water its residents were drinking was essentially poison.
Yeah.
The population of Cleveland doubled from 1850 to 1860, and it was around this time that Clevelanders began complaining of tainted water.
It doubled in 10 years.
Yeah, and then it doubled again.
Well, those polls.
Yeah,
dear.
it was booming.
Wow.
So by 1876, with the city still growing rapidly, there was an increased sewage flow, blah, and the water supply was fast becoming a serious health hazard because they were just, all the sewage was just being dumped into Lake Erie, and then they were pulling water from Lake Erie to drink.
Okay.
Ugh, that's so gross.
So something had to be done, but unfortunately, the solution ended up being almost as deadly as the problem it sought to correct.
Okay.
At first, the city built water intakes along the shoreline of Lake Erie, but then they were faced with another infrastructure problem, how to get the fresh water from the lake to the pumping station in the city. And then over time, they had to get the water intakes like deeper into the lake to get fresher water than like the shoreline dirty water.
Oh, yeah.
So they just kept needing more infrastructure, basically. Due to physics, I'm not sure, a series of tunnels had to be dug underneath the lake
Ugh,
to make this happen.
that's too daunting. Just
Yeah.
give up.
Right?
Ugh.
I would have been like, there's literally nothing we can do. I-
They started digging a hole for a new airport terminal in Des Moines, and I just get ill every time I think about it. Like, just the thought of such a monumental task.
right.
And that's just an airport terminal. You're not digging holes under a Great Lake.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, no, it's fucking bonkers what they did. So workers would literally have to drill through the bedrock beneath Lake Erie to create a tunnel that would transport water from the lake to the city's water treatment plants. And then it had to have like enough pressure basically to get the water through the tunnel all the way to the water treatment plants. A feat that led to a string of disasters between 1898 and 1916, which altogether killed a total of 58 men.
Jesus.
So basically, tragedy could strike at any moment if a pocket of natural gas was inadvertently ignited during the drilling process, because they're just down there drilling through bedrock,
Ooh.
which means there's sparks a-flying. And then if
Right.
they hit a pocket of natural gas, this
dead.
underwater tunnel explodes.
No. No.
This is very, what is it? What's that movie? Like Daybreak or something with fucking Sylvester Stallone? I don't know. You
Don't
guys,
know.
it's fine. It's just really scary.
No.
And you're
Oh,
like
genre.
miles from the opening of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And
And it's 1900.
That's why they had canaries.
Yeah.
Yikes.
There were 2 gas explosions in 1898 and then 2 more in 1901 and 1902. On August 4th, 1901, there was also a fire that was ignited by cinders from a boiler stack in a temporary water intake crib. We'll get to the cribs. I'll explain what that is in a moment. So 5 men burned to death in the fire and 3 drowned while trying to escape after the tunnel they were digging started to flood.
No.
Like, can you imagine?
No.
That's really fucking scary.
Then 1 rescue worker also died while trying to make it to the trapped workers in the flooded, exploded fire water death tunnel.
Cool.
Yeah.
God. Is your case over yet?
No, gets worse. Thankfully, the work was completed in 1904 and there was a period of respite, but this was brief because within just a few years, more tunnels were needed because they needed fresher, deeper lake water because the poopy water was just
Too poopy.
Too poopy.
Yeah, lol, too poopy.
Too poopy for some of them.
Yeah. So by 1910, questions were being raised about the existing tunnel's integrity and the possible need for costly and dangerous repairs. So it was just a fucking mess. Reading all this, my first thought was maybe we should stop digging tunnels if it keeps on killing people. But again, having a clean water supply is pretty fucking essential. And at this point in time, there was a rising typhoid epidemic in the city.
They had to get that clean water.
Yeah. So, and typhoid can kill a lot of fucking people. In fact, at this time, it actually had a higher fatality rate than measles, scarlet fever, and influenza combined.
Whoa.
That's wild.
They need that clean stuff.
Yeah. And also that doesn't even account for like cholera, which I guess is different than typhoid. I don't know. Science. But
It's all poop related.
poopy water diseases, don't fuck with them.
PWD.
Yeah. Quote, in 1910, the Board of Health reported that expenditures for the city's health programs had not kept pace with those in other major U.S. cities. Dr. C.E. Ford, secretary of the Board of Health, warned that since public health was a purchasable commodity,
Oh my God.
Cleveland could, quote, determine its own death rates. So I think he was like casting shade, and he was like, look, like if you want to save people's lives, you got to pay for it, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But that came out rough.
Well, I don't know. I think it was pretty powerful to be like, how many people are you willing to let die for not paying for sanitation?
Fair enough.
It's a very like statistician's way of putting it.
Yeah.
little brutal.
So a new tunnel is proposed, one that would extend even farther out into Lake Erie. And construction on this grand new tunnel started in March of 1914. And at the beginning, the construction was actually celebrated for its novel safety features and like its safety record. But to be fair, there was a pretty low bar for like tunnel building safety records. They were like, no collapses today. We're on a roll.
A banner day.
Yeah. So this all changed in the summer of 1916. On July 24th, 1916, Harry Vokes, the 27-year-old acting foreman of the project — can you imagine putting a 27-year-old in charge of something this big nowadays?
No.
Well, if the life expectancy was 45, he's middle-aged.
Yeah.
So he led a team of men down into the tunnel to a new crib known as Crib Number 5.
Are you going to tell us about the cribs?
MTV
Now I'm going
cribs.
to tell you about the MTV cribs. So there are a couple photos on the drive of a crib. A crib in this context is not a hip-hop term for one's property. It is a, quote, structure built to house and protect offshore water intakes. It looks like basically like a little oil rig, but it's for
It's cute.
these water type projects.
It looks like a circus tent boat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Circus boat.
A little circus tent boat.
How cute are you?
But I think basically there's a big tunnel under that.
yeah.
Like it doesn't move around. It is where
it's connected
it is.
to the ground.
So this is where they go to like have lunch while they're digging the tunnel below?
That I don't know, but I think it's like the mainframe of where they connect some hoses to. I don't know. People,
Okay.
I'm not an engineer.
Love it.
It's the above ground part of the below ground tunnels.
Yeah, it's the headquarters. It's the HQ in the lake. So they're down there working, and natural gas vents up from the lake bed. Somehow there's a spark, probably from the drilling, and boom.
Okay.
The explosion buried Vokes and his entire work crew under hundreds of feet of mud and debris.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh, yuck.
Rescue efforts immediately followed. Again, it's 1916.
Right. What are they going to do?
The first two attempts were led by crib superintendent John Johnston and construction superintendent Gus Van Duzen. Tragically, not only did these attempts fail to rescue any of the trapped men, but they also resulted in the deaths of 10 of the rescue workers. And the reason why is they were getting down into the tunnels and then they were suffocating because they were hit by all this pent-up natural gas.
So they weren't collapsed in on. They were...
I don't believe these 10 rescue workers were collapsed in on. I believe they were suffocating from the gas in the tunnels, and we'll get to it. So more rescue attempts followed, but it soon was a matter of rescuers going in to rescue the previous rescuers, and things were spiraling out of control. That happened like 3 or 4 times. Like it was just, they just were like losing more men to these rescue efforts.
They're
just sending more and more in.
Yeah.
They're making their own burial mounds.
Oh, that was dark.
That's dark, yeah.
Over and over. Layers.
Uh-huh.
Get
Okay.
Thanks, Lucy.
Yep. Okay. Send emails to lucy@derek.com. So authorities knew that they had to find another way to get as many people out of the tunnel alive as possible. And so they reluctantly reached out to a man named Garrett Morgan.
Garrett.
Why reluctantly, do you ask?
Because he sounds like a dick.
Nope. Because of racism.
Oh.
That'll do it.
So Garrett Morgan, a black man, was born in Paris, Kentucky in 1877.
Paris, Kentucky.
There are so many cities in Kentucky that are like Paris, Versailles.
Versailles.
It's not Versailles, it's Versailles, Kentucky.
Wow.
There's a lot.
Epic.
They're taking their fleur-de-lis really seriously.
Not Lebanon. It's not pronounced Lebanon, Kentucky. I think it's pronounced like Lebanon, Kentucky or something.
Lebanon.
Lebanon,
Steve
Kentucky.
Lebanon, Kentucky.
Yeah, anyway, it's crazy. So he's a black man. He's born in Kentucky in an almost exclusively African-American community because it's 1877. He's the 7th of 11 children. He received a 6th grade education at Branch Elementary School, and at the age of 14, now clearly a fully fledged adult man.
Yeah, at 14 years old, yeah.
He moved to Cincinnati, Ohio to look for work.
Oh my God.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta pay the rent, support the family.
Life was just different.
Yeah, it hit different.
So throughout his teenage years, Garrett worked as a handyman, but he yearned to do more. And so with his earnings as a handyman, he hired a tutor to help him continue and finish his studies and like get him through at least high school, but like beyond. And this is a really good thing because Garrett was nothing short of brilliant. He had a really active and creative mind, but also like really practical. Like,
He was a
both.
man.
What?
He was a man.
A full-grown 14-year-old man.
14-year-old man. Well, he just was really, really fucking smart. And it's great that he, through just like grit and determination, was able to like continue his studies so that he could get to a point where he could use his smarts to create these inventions. So we'll get to it. So he had this active and creative mind. He's constantly coming up with new inventions to solve real world problems. So he also had like a great engineering mind. And in 1895, he moved to Cleveland. He started as like a repairman for sewing machines at a clothing company just to like pay the bills. While there, he fucking invented like 2 new attachments for sewing machines that became very popular. One was a belt fastener something, and one was a zigzag something.
Amazing.
Incredible. Thank you.
Jeez.
Garment makers all over the world listening to us right now are going...
Screaming.
Yeah.
In 1907, he opened his own sewing machine shop. He had like 32 employees pretty quickly. Like he was very successful. He founded the Cleveland Association of Colored Men. He was just on the up and up. In 1908, he and his first wife, Marianne, opened a shop called Morgan's Cut Rate Ladies Clothing Store.
Obsessed.
After a couple years, though, he got bored of just like running the store. He really wanted to focus more on his inventions. And so over the years, he had come up with all kinds of other things. One of the more profitable ones, He had a line of hair care products that
Cool.
he sold under. It was a lot of like straightening products for
Sure.
black
Textured
textured hair.
Yeah.
So this was sold under the name the G.A. Morgan Hair Refining Company.
Cool.
Damn.
In 1914, inspired by the start of the Great War, he received a patent for his smoke hood design. So go on the
Ooh.
drive and take a look at this bad boy. I've got photos of him modeling.
Oh my
Oh.
God. That's what this is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Damn.
So this smoke and ammonia protection device is better known today as a gas mask.
Fuck yeah.
Dang.
Morgan's mask was the prototype for gas masks used during World War I.
Wow.
That's wild.
This guy from like fairly rural Kentucky who
Right.
had a 6th grade education and faced all kinds of immediately post-Civil War discrimination
Right.
invented the gas mask during World War I.
Jesus.
Fucking badass.
That's so cool.
So by 1916, Garrett Morgan was known for his innovative smoke hood, which he referred to as a breathing device.
Mm-hmm.
And Cleveland authorities turned to him to help in rescue efforts of the tunnel collapse because they were like, all right, this guy lives here. He invented this gas mask. We're having people dropping dead in a natural gas tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
He could probably help us, but he's black. So like, we don't love that we're turning to him, but we're doing it.
Right.
So at the request of the Cleveland Police and the U.S. Bureau of Mines, Garrett, his brother Frank, and 2 other tunnel workers entered the gas-filled tunnel protected by their gas masks. They were able to rescue 2 men alive, including Gus Van Dusen,
Damn.
and then they retrieved 4 other bodies. Wow. Once gas from the tunnel was allowed to dissipate a bit, sandhogs were able to
What?
enter the tunnel. I'll get to it.
Hogs.
And this was an attempt to recover because it was past the point of being able to rescue people at this point. The bodies of the original 9 workers who were still stuck under debris from the original explosion. So what the fuck is a sandhog?
Yep.
Sandhog is a slang term that is given to urban miners and construction workers who work on city excavation projects.
Oh no.
Because there's so much sand involved with like building cities.
Yeah. Because they're tunneling, they're digging, and there's a bunch of sand.
Hogs.
Ugh.
Sandhogs themselves embrace the term.
Okay.
They're proud of their sandhog history.
It's like being a
All
yachty.
right. Hog girl
Yeah.
summer.
Sandhog girl fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like mining, sandhog jobs are often multi-generational since large tunnel projects often take many years. Just look at fucking Boston. They're still building some tunnel for the freeway. Started like 40 years ago.
Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, famed Hollywood heartthrob and womanizer of your so vain fame,
Oh.
Warren Beatty,
Yeah.
worked as a sandhog on the 3rd tube of the Lincoln Tunnel in his youth.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. There you go. And everybody loves his sandhog.
Okay.
He loved to tunnel that
Ish.
one with his
Come
sandhog.
on.
Okay. So back to these old Cleveland Sandhogs. A great sports ball
That
team.
would be.
The Cleveland Sandhogs. That would be so good.
They dug through the mud and had to wait as gas dissipated in the tunnel, and it took weeks, but by August 21st, they were finally able to bring all the bodies out of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Tragically, during the final recovery effort, a sandhog, an Italian immigrant, Luigi Bucciarelli, fell from the crib into the lake and drowned.
Oh my God.
Oh, no.
Which is really sad. So he was the last and 20th victim of the tragedy.
God.
After the dust settled a bit, Cleveland City Hall launched a probe into how the disaster occurred because, like, digging 40 feet into the bedrock of a Great Lake in 1916
Sure.
is dangerous, but whatever.
Yeah. It's dangerous now.
Yeah, they wanted somebody to blame. So they do
Yeah.
this investigation. Fingers were initially pointed at rescuers John Johnston and Gus Van Dusen just because, like, they were the first rescuers and that went so poorly.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the project's foreman, the 27-year-old Guy Vokes. Also, a chemist who was responsible for daily testing of air samples in the tunnels, looking for traces of natural gas.
Yeah.
So, like, presumably, if he had done that testing and they had found a trace of natural gas, then presumably they wouldn't have been sent down to tunnel that day. But
Yeah.
apparently that testing didn't happen on the day in question. So that's not good.
No.
However, when witnesses related to the project started to bring up other safety issues, like specifically how crib number 5 didn't have proper resuscitation equipment on hand.
Great.
And I also have a photo of the resuscitation equipment being used that people had. They were called pulmotors, like pulmonary motors.
Mm.
So it's like a CPR machine?
Kind of. It's basically a thing that just like pumps oxygen straight into the lungs,
Mm.
Oh.
but it doesn't do the chest compression. So it's
So yeah, there's still a guy here compressing the chest.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, it's 1916. These were not very effective. They're no longer used today, but they were supposed to be on hand and they weren't. They didn't have a telephone to call for help. So
Oh, for God's
I'm
sakes.
guessing someone had to like reach shore via boat.
My God.
They didn't even have a doctor, like a physician on hand, which they were supposed to have. So
Oh my God.
it was bad. So they find all this shit out from their investigation, and suddenly the mayor, Harry L. Davis, is like, I think it's time to end the probe.
Oh yeah. Wrap it up. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. Quote, every man did what he thought was best.
Yep, there was nothing we could have done differently, you guys.
So many people were at fault that they all just cancel out.
Yep.
Oh.
Nothing we could. This was unavoidable. This was unavoidable. Yep.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yikes.
Bye-bye.
So then the project continued after this disaster, because they still fucking need to get around the poopy water. And the Cleveland Waterworks Tunnel was finally completed 2 years later in 1918. The city's next big waterworks project started 30 years later in 1948.
Another one.
This time they had cranes and barges and like prefabricated pipe, and it made it a lot safer. Garrett Morgan, meanwhile, went on to create his most famous invention. So the gas mask, not even his most famous invention.
Jeez.
Maybe
Despite
not
saving millions of lives during
Saved
the war.
millions of lives. His next invention possibly has saved more millions of lives.
Damn, safety guy.
What do you think he used? What did you think he invented? We talked about it at the beginning, and I said we'd get to it. It's
Lights.
Traffic
lights.
traffic light.
Holy, he invented the
Dang.
traffic light?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's right. Garrett Morgan, inventor of the gas mask, also invented the modern 3-light traffic signal in 1923.
Unreal.
There were
Jeez.
previous traffic lights, but it was basically just stop and go. He
Ah,
invented the
slow.
the slow.
Slow the fuck down.
So he had witnessed a horrible car crash at an intersection, which inspired him to design a new signal that included a third warning light. And he sold the rights to this invention to General Electric for $40,000, which, time money converter,
Right.
would be about $720,000 today, which you might think,
Not
like,
enough.
not enough.
Well, he didn't know how widespread they'd be,
Yes, and because it's a public utility
Ah.
and not a private product, he couldn't have just sold it to a private company. He had to sell it to a public utility
Sure.
because nobody else you're not making money off traffic lights.
Yeah.
You're just saving lives with traffic lights.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fucking capitalism.
Yeah.
So on the 100th anniversary of the Cleveland Tunnel disaster, descendants of the victims and the rescuers met with Garrett Morgan's granddaughter, Sandra Morgan, who looks so much like him, by the way. Like, you can totally...
Really? Are there pictures on the
Yes,
drive?
you can totally tell she's his granddaughter. It's so exciting. He was
No way.
Right? He was very handsome, too.
Amazing.
Can't you tell?
Yeah. The smile.
Right?
Yeah. And around the eyes.
I know. What a
Oh
cutie.
my God.
That's so cute.
So they all got together at an event entitled Commemoration of the 100th Anniversary of Historic Rescue by Garrett A. Morgan. And there were also many relatives of rescuers who died in the disaster, and they had been contacted ahead of time by the Irish American Archives Society and informed of their ancestors' heroic rescue efforts. And so they didn't know, a lot of them, that their ancestors were involved in this. And then they got to attend.
That's so cool.
Because a lot of the tunnelers and diggers were Irish immigrants.
Yeah.
Also in attendance was Barbara Lind, Gus Van Duzen's granddaughter, who said, quote, "Men died to bring us clean water, and we take that for granted. It's very emotional. It's also sad that Morgan didn't get credit for his role."
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to give him some credit today, because what a fucking brilliant.
Seriously.
Man, think about how many millions of lives this one man saved.
That's
between fucking gas masks and modern traffic lights.
Yeah, traffic lights.
You can't even count.
Right. You can't even quantify
the number of lives.
And then he also was fucking down there wearing the gas mask in the tunnel, hauling bodies out.
Yeah, that's wild.
Poor bastard. God.
Incredible. Just incredible. I'm in
What
awe
a
of this
story.
man.
You go, Garrett.
Woo.
Well, and thanks for teaching us shit that, like, we aren't taught in fucking history class.
Mm-hmm.
For obvious fucking reasons. But yeah, that was such a fascinating and incredible and really fucking tragic.
Yeah.
But amazing story. Okay, Cleveland.
Okay, Cleveland.
Climbing back up in our hearts.
Yeah.
Well, mine will not be as honorable. By far so much less honorable that it's laughable, actually, which is why I picked it.
All right, well, let's take a little sponsor palate cleanser break.
Yep. Blow our noses.
Blow our noses.
And come back for my story.
So now that it is getting colder outside.
Shorter days.
Shorter days, a little bit less sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get really affected by that, by the changing of the seasons. So it's, you know, easy to sometimes get down this time of year.
Yeah.
And I just remember that it really helps me when I talk with my therapist.
And that is where Talkspace comes in. So if you think seeing a therapist or psychiatrist would be helpful, but you really don't feel like you have the time to find one, meet with them, or even afford them, that's like such a huge barrier, give Talkspace a try. By doing everything online, Talkspace has made getting the help you want easy, accessible, and affordable. And we really shouldn't wait for a trauma to start talking to a therapist, because you can start building your toolbox to be able to handle the inevitable next trauma that this life will hand you. It's not gonna not happen, so you may as well prepare, you know?
Right.
And with Talkspace, you can sign up online and get a personalized match with a provider that's right for you, typically within 48 hours, which I find so amazing. That can truly be life-saving, quick turnaround. It's incredibly convenient to have virtual sessions with your licensed therapist from the comfort of your home, and there's no need to commute to appointments, miss time at work, or have to line up childcare in order to attend sessions. It's mental health care made easy. It'll meet you where you're at so that you have access from the comfort of your own home. And there's so many ways to engage with Talkspace. You can send, you know, basically text messages in their app. You can set up video calls. You can set up phone calls. Like, there's so many great ways to connect with your therapist and get out of this what you need. And Talkspace can help with so many specific challenges that you might be facing. It's the #1 online therapy platform with licensed therapists in over 40 specialties, including anxiety, check, depression, check, substance abuse,
No.
check, relationship issues, and so much more. And it's also secure and private. So using the latest end-to-end bank-grade encryption technology to store client information and complying with the latest HIPAA regulations, you are safe and secure, and Talkspace is affordable and in-network with most major insurers.
Yeah, so as a listener of this podcast, you'll get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/gals, GALS. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/gals to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/gals, and treat your brain.
Treat it.
This year, I am thankful for Honey Love because there is nothing worse than suffering from an uncomfortable bra or shapewear or underwear. You know, that's just no one should have to deal with that.
No.
Honey Love has revolutionized the bra and shapewear game. So say goodbye to uncomfortable underwire. I'm sorry, I refuse. The underwire days of my life are over and I'm never going back. I also will not go back to bulky fabrics that trap heat. Just because snow is on the ground doesn't mean my boobies won't sweat, okay?
Yeah, that's true. They might sweat more than ever. Shoveling.
Sometimes they do. Yeah. Oh my gosh, I don't even want to go there yet, but yes, correct. Honey Love's bras feature supportive bonding that eliminates the need for underwire without sacrificing lift. Plus, they're made with fabric that's so soft you won't want to take it off. When I tell you I have fallen asleep in a Honey Love bra, that is not a lie.
I literally just took a nap in my Honey Love bra this morning.
It happens.
Like, what?
I know. And their shapewear uses targeted compression technology, so you no longer have to feel like you're completely suffocating while wearing effective shapewear. You'll immediately feel and see the difference, so get yourself the gift of comfort. Plus, for this month only, Honey Love is giving up to 50% off site-wide. So visit honeylove.com/wine to shop their November sale and let them know that we sent you when the survey asks.
That's right. Again, now we talked a lot about how great their bras are at the top, but I just want to reiterate the product that made me initially fall in love with Honey Love was their shapewear. And I am still completely obsessed with it. Wore it recently while we were in Dallas for our live show, and it just makes me feel like confident. And
well, and Dallas was 90 degrees,
Yeah.
so the thigh protection of the Honey Love shapewear
Preventing
is
that
where
rub.
it's at. Yeah.
yeah, and then still being able to go to the bathroom quickly without having to like take it
Yep.
all off.
Yep.
It's just really well designed and well thought out. So their best-selling shapewear is the Super Power Short. It is my go-to. It has targeted compression technology. It distinguishes between areas where you want more support and areas where you need a little less compression because you want to
Eat, sit.
show off your curves. If
Right.
You know what I mean? The best part is that it won't ever roll up or down thanks to their flexible boning hidden in the side seams. It's just really, really comfortable.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, Honey Love believes that shapewear shouldn't be hard. It should be just as easy to put on as it is to take off. And yeah, they just make you look and feel good. So give yourself the gift of comfort this holiday season, whether you're attending a wedding, hosting a big Thanksgiving dinner, or simply seeking that everyday boost of confidence. Honey Love is the perfect +1.
Yes, so treat yourself to the best bras and shapewear on the market and save up to 50% off site-wide at honeylove.com/wine. This month only. Inventory is limited and the sale ends soon, so don't miss their best deals of the year. And after you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. It's time to ditch the underwire for good, thanks to Honey Love. Escape to a bygone age of mystery, of danger, of romance. As you immerse yourself into the world of June's Journey, a hidden object mystery mobile game that puts your detective skills to the test. Play as June Parker and investigate beautifully detailed scenes of the 1920s whilst uncovering the mystery of her sister's murder. With hundreds of mind-teasing puzzles, the next clue is always within reach.
Oh, yes. And I can play this game for a very long time.
Yeah, it's so easy to just slip away into this world of June's Journey.
Just slip away.
Yes.
So you search for hidden objects from the parlors of New York to the sidewalks of Paris. It's just very visually pleasing. This game is about a daring young girl named June traveling to her sister's estate to uncover scandalous family secrets. And you can also design a garden. That's
I love
my
that.
favorite part.
Yeah.
So yeah, you customize your very own luxurious estate island. It's just it scratches an itch, if you know what I
does.
mean. So relax and lose yourself in this captivating quest of mystery, murder, and romance. I like the scenes where it's like the scene of a crime,
Yeah, finding the clues.
finding the clues. It sounds easy, but it's
not.
It's not easy. It's very engaging, and it is so satisfying when you complete the level.
I love finding all the clues and beating the timer.
That makes you feel real good about yourself.
It really does.
This is an endorphin game.
Rush, yeah. So can you crack the case? Download June's Journey for free today on iOS and Android. All right. So are you ready for my seg?
I don't know.
I'm not really calling it a case because it's like it was a crime against like humanity in its own way.
Okay.
It's fine. Anyway, I too wanted to cover a classic Cleveland caper, aka disaster, this week. And I chose this one for the photos alone because they are shocking. And also I saw this on TikTok, like a story about this on TikTok like a month ago. And I cannot stop thinking about it. And then I was slightly looking ahead and I was like, oh my God, Cleveland fucking crimes. Finally, my moment. Because like when I saw the TikTok, it didn't even compute that this was in Cleveland. Like that's not even what I was focused on. It was just the imagery from this day that I was focused on.
See, I've heard briefly about this. It's
I don't know where we're going.
So in 1986, the United Way had an idea to get some eyes on Cleveland and raise money for local nonprofits in need of support. Because United Way is basically like a nonprofit that funnels money to other nonprofits.
Yeah.
It's kind of wild.
It's like a weird nebulous middleman.
Well, it's based off of this like World War. I was reading about this a little bit. It's based off of like this World War I era creation of the quote unquote community chest, where people would put funds, people like more privileged and well off people would put funds into like a community nonprofit fund that then would get funneled out into the community to support, you know, individuals who needed support through by way of like other smaller community actions.
It's charity intake crib number 5.
Yeah, it is. It's just gotten really big. Anyway, so their idea was balloons.
Like birthday balloons?
Yep.
Okay.
They wanted to enlist locals, mostly children, and in schools to sell balloons in their communities, but not for the buyer to then like have balloons to use for their own purposes, like in those gift wrap or like holiday resales we used to do, where you'd sell something and then the person would actually receive an item.
Oh, I used to get so exhilarated.
You have always been competitive, and cute, so you crushed it.
I did sell a lot of wrapping paper.
Me too.
Loved those.
I think it's a gateway to Cutco knives, y'all. It's a gateway to pyramid schemes, so be careful. But they'd be selling these balloons to be released together in a massive display in downtown Cleveland to break the Guinness World Record for largest balloon release.
Largest pollution.
Well, we'll get to the pollution.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Why did it take so long for the collective to understand how fucking bad balloon releases are?
This is
because
peak
it looked
1986.
Really cool. Oh yeah. It looked really fucking cool. And if you go to my folder,
I've looked at them. It looks
you'll
insane.
See how fucking cool it looks. Yeah, it's shocking. It's shocking. So
for some reason in my brain, they were all tied together.
No, baby. No. So the kids get to work selling sponsorships at $1 for 2 balloons. And then the fundraiser ended when the balloon count reached 1.5 million balloons. Their goal was 2 million balloons, but 1.5 ended up being sufficient to break the record. And I think they were closing in on like the time to then procure, inflate, and release the balloons.
Who
blew those up?
This could like blot out the sun.
Oh, we'll get to all of it.
It looks like one of those, what are those swarms of like swallows?
Locusts.
Yes. No, the swallows that can move and make shapes.
They
in
like
the sky.
undulate. Yeah.
Shit. Starlings. Starlings.
Swarms of starlings.
Yeah.
They're
my God. Okay.
Yep.
This is so...
Murmuration.
Yeah, they're pretty
A
amazing.
shape-shifting flock of thousands of starlings.
They're so amazing.
Fuck.
So, like I said, the goal was 2 million, but 1.5 was enough to break the record that had been set a year prior at the 30th anniversary of Disneyland in California, where they released 1 million balloons. Some reports said 1.2 million, but either way, 1.5 would break the record. So, from Wikipedia, quote, the stunt was coordinated by a Los Angeles-based company headed by Treb Heining, and the company was called Balloon Art by Treb, which spent 6 months preparing for it. A rectangular structure the size of a city block was set up to hold balloons on the southwest quadrant of Cleveland's public square. So that's what you see in that first photo with like the arch of balloons.
Yeah.
So what that is a big box with no top, but all you can see is the portions of net that are currently filled with balloons, but the net goes all the way over that box, and they filled everything over that block-long box.
I hate it.
It's just such a massive scale. It's like scary to look at.
It's triggering my megalophobia.
Yeah, a little bit. It measured 250 feet, this box that they built, by 150 feet, was 3 stories high, and was covered with a one-piece net of woven mesh material. This is the part where I texted you guys, and I was like, LOL, this is cracking me up because this reminds me so much of Elizabeth.
Oh, yeah. My mom would have been all about this.
She really would have.
Inside, 2,500 volunteers, unpaid, consisting largely of high school students, spent hours filling the balloons with helium.
Oh, I'm being so triggered.
One described the preparations as like an assembly line nonstop.
My mom.
For their efforts, volunteers received free t-shirts.
My mom
She would have
have
signed us up for that.
signed us up without asking us
Yep.
on a Saturday for like 12-hour shifts.
Yep.
Easily. And I literally wrote, would you have done this / would Elizabeth have signed us up for this? And yes, she would have.
Absolutely, we would have, and we would have just gotten in the minivan, and she would have just driven us there and then told us on the way.
Yep.
You have plans Saturday.
Yep.
Not my child.
Yep.
She just
We would have
corralled
been
us into
hands
things.
bloodied, filling thousands of balloons. So fucking fun.
Oh my god!
So they
I'm
set-
like literally triggered right now.
I know. As I was reading this, I was like, "Oh God, this is
the amount of
hitting close to
volunteering for
home.
weird events that I did in
Weird
my
events
childhood.
where you get a free T-shirt."
Yeah, we had to sing in front of our high school. That was
Oh,
bad.
yeah.
Excelsior's sesquicentennial.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Every year we were volunteered for some
Art on the
fucking-
lake.
That Hellman's thing.
Hellman's
mayonnaise
mayonnaise
contest.
competition.
She wanted us to try out for that movie with Janet Jackson. Didn't she bring? She ended up getting the date wrong, but she had us all ready
missed
to
our
go
audition.
try out for a movie at the Mall of America featuring Janet Jackson.
Okay. Wonder if that ever got made.
My god.
Unreal. So this easily could have been us if we were just born the right time. So they set the release date of Saturday, September 27th for about 3 or 4 p.m., but noticed that morning a considerable rainstorm was making its way toward the city. So they moved up the launch to 1:50 p.m. to avoid the bad weather. Over 100,000 people gathered around the square to witness the event. Despite its potentially devastating consequences, it honestly had to have been spectacular to behold. I mean, there's video, so much photographic footage of this. It's like nuts.
Did no one flag up any of the possible consequences? Was nobody
Frankly,
like, what about the birds?
Yeah.
I'm certain people did, and the people with money and in charge didn't give a shit.
Right.
You know, the
Treb
governor and
Heine
mayor
was just
are like,
fuck you.
I'm going to make millions on these balloons. And then, Cleveland's like, this is going to put Cleveland on the map.
Yeah.
We're only known for our burning
Balloon
rivers.
City.
We're going to be the Balloon City. Exactly.
We're not the poopy water city anymore.
Yeah.
We're Balloon City now.
Oh my god.
So obviously I put a bunch of those pictures on the drive/blog. So listeners, please check them out. They are wild. And then definitely Google Cleveland balloon launch and just watch all the video. It's unbelievable. But while we revel in the visuals, we're going to ruin it before we go on to what happened immediately after in Cleveland specifically, with some inconvenient truths about the environmental impact of balloons and specifically large balloon releases. So, quote, balloon launches are bad for the environment in several ways, but we can start with wildlife. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration points out that wildlife can confuse the small, bright pieces of a balloon as food.
Yeah.
In a website blog, the agency says balloons that are released into the air don't just go away. They either get snagged on something such as tree branches or electrical wires, deflate and make their way back down to Earth, or rise until they pop and fall back to Earth kind of shredded, where they can create a lot of problems. Many balloons that are not properly disposed of end up in the ocean and along shores, becoming marine debris. Balloons can be mistaken for food by wildlife, and if eaten and ingested, balloons and other marine debris can lead to loss of nutrition, internal injury, starvation, and death. So something I was reading was that, like, they'll eat this and then they'll feel the sensation of being full.
And they won't eat actual
But then their
nourishment.
body can't actually digest it, so they just feel full
They just
for,
don't
like,
eat anymore.
days and days and days on end and just don't eat and then starve to death. Because their body, like, can't process and pass plastic rubber.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they just
they
die.
accidentally gastric bypass themselves.
Pretty much. String or ribbon that is often found attached to balloons can cause entanglement, both internally and externally. If it's eaten, it can, like,
Yeah, it ties
wrap
up their
in
guts.
your guts. Yep. String can wrap around marine life, causing injury, illness, and suffocation. The National Geographic Society also points out the trash issue. Solid waste, meaning garbage, trash, litter, in the world's waters, and solid waste that accumulates on the shorelines of waterways is known as marine debris. Marine debris has been recognized as a form of pollution for over 50 years and is often described as one of the most pervasive marine pollution problems because it is found from the most remote beach locations to the most visited beaches throughout the world. So there's, like, nowhere you can go without trash
They're like
washing up.
floating trash islands, like the size of New Jersey in the
Yeah.
ocean.
Mm-hmm. Balloons, even quote-unquote biodegradable ones, are a huge contributor to microplastics in our water and food supply and contribute to a whopping 20% of power outages.
What?
Because they get caught up in fucking power
Jeez.
lines and blow up fucking, what are those?
Shit.
Box
Transformers.
things. Transformers. And so, like, people will be like, oh, what about biodegradable? Blah, blah, blah. It's like, that doesn't mean that it's just environmentally safe. It still will take a really long time to break down.
Yeah.
Still contains plastics, still will affect wildlife, still will fucking fall into the water supply. Like,
Yeah, still fuck shit up for a long time. It's just
we
not
just-
forever.
yeah. So if you're going to do balloons, they at least need to be popped and properly disposed of. You just, like, I understand that there's significance to balloon releases. I've done them for, like, lost loved ones in the past. None of us are perfect, but, like, there are sustainable alternatives to that.
Mm-hmm.
And those, you know, you can research what those sustainable alternatives are to honor your loved one without a balloon release. Like,
Yeah.
just please don't.
And
Please don't
certainly
do
not
that.
a 1.5 million
Million
balloon
balloon.
release.
Yeah.
I Googled it. There are t-shirts that say I survived Balloon Fest 86.
There you go. There you go. So obviously this was just awful environmentally, like, period. But it also caused legitimate chaos on this particular day. And some of the headlines, like, looking back at newspapers that were released, like, in the weeks following the balloon release, are just so fucking over the top. I love it. But anyway, here's what happened. The storm they were trying to avoid had not begun right over the city, but as we know how storms work, it was a result of a cold front that had moved in, and that cold air is heavy, and this essentially stopped the balloons en masse in their tracks when they were supposed to continue floating away and then deflate and drop over the city and sent them, like, careening back down to earth, still fully inflated.
Oh my God.
So the massive dropping balloons clogged the land and waterways of Northeast Ohio for days. They had spread out everywhere, needing bulldozers to move them out of roadways and causing major traffic issues.
So they're inflated with helium, but
Yes,
the cold
like,
air is
the
pushing them
cold
down.
air had pushed them down, and then they were, like, just cold and deflated enough to, like,
To not
linger
rise
on the
again?
not rise back up
To
again.
just be right in our field of vision.
Right, because
They were
then
all
the
those
rain
wrinkly
started.
old, the wrinkly
Yeah.
old 2-day-old balloons.
The, like, sad ball sack 2-day-old balloons. And now they're all now,
They're
and
still,
it's
like,
raining
just
now.
a little bit hard to catch.
yeah.
Traffic collisions were reported, quote, as drivers swerved to avoid slow motion blizzards of multicolored orbs, or simply took their eyes off the road to gawk at the overhead spectacle. So even if it had all gone right, drivers were still fucking idiots. We're gonna be like, oh, balloons, what? just careen off the road.
I mean, I would be distracted as fuck.
I'd be distracted by one balloon.
I'd have to pull over. Drivers on the lakefront Cleveland Memorial Shoreway ran into fences as well as each other before the roadway was shut down entirely for cleaning. People could not handle it. Balloons also descended upon Burke Lakefront Airport, which is a small public airport right on the lake. We have one in St. Paul that's really similar. And it's like basically downtown Cleveland, like on this little lakefront plot. That had to shut down completely until all the balloons could be cleared off the runways. Balloons were even reported to have washed ashore on the Canadian side of Lake Erie, causing water pollution. Like, there were so many fucking balloons, you guys. Like, imagine watching a massive cloud start to float away before it turns around and is pushed by cold air right back on top of you. I'm, like, getting upset. It's like a new fear. And I never have to experience this. I'm just afraid of it. Apparently, the stunt had been planned with the understanding that most of the balloons were supposed to stay over downtown Cleveland, with only about 10% of the balloons expected to make it over Lake Erie, which, like, 10% of 1.5 million is still a lot of fucking balloons making it over Lake Erie.
Unconscionable pollution.
Yeah.
So 86.
It's so 86. But due to the weather, 60% of the balloons landed in the water, with the remaining 40% clogging the shorefront roadways.
Oh my God.
So with 60% of the balloons going down on the water, something bad happened.
A lot of dead fish.
2 fishermen named Raymond Broderick and Bernard Soltzer, who had gone out on the evening of September 26th, so the night before, were reported missing the morning of the 27th by their families on the day of the event. And they were out fishing on Lake Erie, and they're like avid fishermen.
Oh my God.
But they hadn't come back. Well, we'll not super get to it, but let me just get to it. So rescuers spotted, before the balloon release, their 16-foot boat anchored like to the west on Lake Erie. But then by the time they could assemble their search, the balloon debacle had happened. And a Coast Guard search and rescue helicopter could not reach the area because of what they called an asteroid field of balloons.
Oh my God.
A search and rescue boat crew tried to spot the fishermen floating in the lake, but guard officials said balloons in the water made it impossible to see whether anyone was in the lake.
Of course.
Oh.
The search had to be suspended entirely on September 29th. So they'd been gone. They'd been missing. They never came back on the night of the 26th. Their boat was spotted on the 27th, but people couldn't get to them because it was covered and surrounded by
Balloons.
Fucking hundreds of thousands of balloons.
Holy shit.
This is such a lesson in like
Man-made disasters.
externalities. Yeah, like just Oh no.
So on September 29th, it's like we cannot continue this search until this cleanup is done. So the Coast Guard suspends the search, the cleanup is still going, and the fishermen's bodies washed ashore by the 30th of September.
Oh, they just washed ashore.
So we don't know if they were already dead before the balloon attack or
balloon attack.
Yeah, well, I mean, the balloon attack is accurate.
The balloon disaster.
Yes.
Or it just impeded.
Right. So the wife of one of the fishermen sued the United Way of Cleveland and the company that organized the balloon release for $3.2 million. They later settled outside of court on undisclosed terms. And while the missing men may have drowned before the balloon release, there's no arguing that the search and rescue mission was severely impeded by the balloons. And members of the Coast Guard recalled searching the waters with strained eyes in a panic, unable to tell the difference between the balloons and the missing boaters' potential like life jackets, helmets, or heads.
Yeah, can you imagine? It's searching for a needle in a haystack.
Literally. Many believe that they could have been saved if only Balloon Fest 86 had littered the water, but their time of death is unclear because of obviously what we know, what water exposure can do to the body.
Yeah.
They couldn't pin it in that X amount of hours from like, when did they go overboard? You know.
Sure.
So they drowned somehow?
Yep, they drowned. I don't think it could ever be determined whether they had drowned before or after the balloons were released. Which is why Cleveland and the United Way and the balloon company weren't like that much more on the hook.
Right.
But either way, the balloons really fucked up the search, and left their loved ones waiting without answers for days until their bodies, probably fucking covered in balloons, washed ashore on Lake Erie.
Oh, God.
I mean, I can't.
Oh, it's so awful.
I can't even fucking imagine.
Just for some stupid ass stunt.
Yep.
Some
For a
cringy
nonprofit,
stunt.
like charity themed.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure this is also a classic example of intent versus impact.
Holy shit.
I didn't mean to murder anyone with my 1.5 million balloons.
Or completely destroy an ecosystem.
Yep.
It was a balloon attack.
Yeah. Despite the very real and tragic interference with this search, some rich bitch had to make it about her in the most rich bitch way imaginable. So another quote-unquote tragedy that occurred. Balloons landing on a pasture in Medina County, Ohio, allegedly spooked Louise Nowakowski's prized and extraordinarily expensive Arabian horses, which allegedly suffered permanent injuries as a result. Nowakowski sued the United Way of Cleveland for $100,000 in damages and settled outside of court for an undisclosed amount.
Well, how dare they spook her prized Arabian horses?
Arabian horses.
No, but actually, I'm sure that did scare the horses.
I'm sure it did. It scared me.
Ray's afraid of balloons.
Oh,
I had balloons at my birthday, and then when they got the 2-day-old, like barely floating,
Yeah.
but still
Yep.
really ominously
moving around.
Coming toward him.
He's so freaked out by those. It's a really
I don't blame
unnatural.
movement.
It's
Yeah.
not right.
It
Yeah,
ain't
It's not
right. He's so freaked out about them.
It's definitely not fucking right.
Kenny and Jerry sent some balloons for Sonia's birthday, but they're still going pretty strong, actually. They're in our kitchen.
Nailed it.
But I will
You're not going to release
will
them,
pop
so you'll be
them
fine.
and dispose
Yeah,
of them properly.
you'll be fine. The fundraiser as a whole lost a lot of money due to cost overruns and fucking
Lawsuits. Oh my God.
And the Guinness Book of World Records merely mentioned it once in a 1988 publication before abolishing the category entirely. So they like don't even have
For like safety.
record.
They're like, don't do this.
Yep. So they had the record for like a year, kinda, and it's not in the Guinness Book at all.
Oh my God.
There are posters.
So was it worth it,
There
Cleveland?
are posters and T-shirts about surviving Balloon Fest '86, and I think we're all gonna need them.
I kind
I-
of want one.
Fully agree that we're all gonna.
Yeah,
need them.
they're-
Sounds
None of us were alive
amazing.
then.
Some of them are pretty cute, actually. Cute designs.
I love it.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, that's my Cleveland story.
Wow. Well, that was fabulous.
It was so wild. The photos are incredible.
They
Well
really
done.
are.
Drop some of those t-shirt photos into the drive because
Yeah,
these are cute as
I
shit.
will.
Yeah, send the link.
Anyway,
Well, thank you to our fan picker Allie and their gateway gal Decrypt and everybody over at Burning River Roller Derby.
hell yeah.
This was awesome.
And CLE Urban Winery, shout out.
Maybe we'll have to give Cleveland another try. Maybe.
I
If
would go
Cleveland
there in
releases 2 million balloons for us,
Yeah.
then we'll come back.
Right. Yeah. It's going to depend on the
We
balloon
want
number.
our balloons. Yeah.
We'll put it in our
Yep.
rider. Okay. Well, thank you so much. We love you all.
See you later.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip, music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell, editing by Jonathan Camp. Check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, basically wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support, visit our Patreon page to keep this podcast and the wine flowing. Cheers!
Capture the spirit of the holidays like never before with Rockbrook Camera, Nebraska and Western Iowa's premier camera store since 1975. Rockbrook Camera has the latest cameras and lenses, so you can preserve precious memories and learn new photography skills that will last a lifetime. Let the knowledgeable photography pros at Rockbrook Camera show you how to take great pictures of family traditions, the kids' sporting events, and the kids' big holiday musical. Rockbrook Camera is always ready to help with amazing customer support. Join one of their photo classes to learn the best tips and order a beautiful, custom-made gift from their photo lab. Capture the beauty and majesty of winter's snowy landscapes. Be prepared for holiday gatherings and be ready to capture all the family fun. Visit Rockbrook Camera today, 1 block south of 168th and West Center in Omaha, 70th and Pioneers in Lincoln, or online at rockbrookcamera.com. Rockbrook Camera. Great photography begins here.